He took my hands and he started crying. He said, I can't believe that you were able to put that in a flavor. And so at that point, you start realizing you're selling nostalgia.
Tengo que preguntarte esto.
I just feel that being Cuban, I'm politics. So there is no Cuban in me that can't be political. I take it personally and I have to talk about it.
A lot of artists say that you shouldn't mix culture and politics.
When Fidel Castro died, I was thrilled to come out with Burn in Hell Fidel. But it's the kick in the throat I wanted to give Fidel. What better thing for me to do than to go to Copelia, Fidel Castro's Copelia, and show him how to really make ice cream.
En Miami, everything is possible. Todo lo que sueñas lo puedes encontrar aquí. Pero ¿alguna vez has soñado sobre comerte un helado de dominó? O mejor un helado de churrería. ¿Qué tal de Fidel quémate en el infierno? Pues nuestra invitada de hoy ha logrado hacer eso y mucho más. She has turned culture, heritage, nostalgia, and history into a flavor for ice cream. I'm Daniel.
I'm Aliyah,
And this is Sin Café.
pero con leche.
Today, we have the honor and pleasure of having the CEO and founder of Azucar Ice Cream Shop in Little Havana. So without further ado, let's give a round of applause to Susie Wache. Thank you so much for being on Sin Café Pero Con Leche. Really, it's an honor and to have you as a first invitee here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So really, when I just have like a whole lot of questions because I don't know if you might know this, but when I learned about Azucar Ice Cream, I tried out your world famous. I have to say world famous because wherever you have to try, you're gonna learn about it and you're gonna fall in love with it. Abuela Maria.
Yes.
I imagine it's the most famous you got here.
Yes.
And everyone comes here for that because my parents love it, I love it, my friends love it, and I learned about it at Cuban Nostalgia. For those who don't know, en un evento que hacemos allí en Miami todos los años, que se hace en los fairgrounds de FIU. Y entonces yo aprendí de azúcar con un stand-up que ustedes tenían ahí, and I loved it completely. Every little taste of it, I loved it. And so usually la cultura es algo que se aprende a través de la familia, se hereda. Pero tú has conseguido que el mundo conozca la cultura cubana a través de un sabor de helado y de varios sabores de helado. So, tengo que preguntarte esto. ¿Cuándo fue el día que te despertaste y decidiste que I want to turn Cuban culture into an ice cream flavor?
So for me, I was a banker. So I was a banker for 20 years. And in 2008, the banking industry plummeted. So I had to decide what to do because I had children. And so my children kept saying, hey, why don't you open an ice cream shop? And I was like, great idea. Like, come on. And so it ends up that little by little, they got that into my head. And I went to Penn State. So Penn State has an ice cream school. I went to another school in St. Louis. And then I came back and I said, what am I going to do? I'm going to open the #1 first-time homemade Cuban ice cream shop. I'm Cuban. My parents are Cuban. My grandparents are Cuban. And I just wanted to celebrate our roots with the rest of the world.
Wow. And now, of course, this comes right in place because la pregunta que quiero hacer es, ¿cuál fue the very, very first flavor you created for Azucar?
Abuela Maria was not the first flavor. We started working on mantecado early on. So one of the biggest things was everybody on the street would ask me, hey, where's the mantecado? And I'd be like, I don't know. Where is the mantecado? Like, I had no idea. So little by little, I started looking up my, believe it or not, old recipes of my ex-mother-in-law, and she happened to have one. So for mantecado. So I found it, and the gentlemen over in this beautiful Domino Park were the ones who would tell me, doesn't have this, doesn't have that, put more of this, put more of that. So little by little, between Domino Park and I, we made that recipe.
Wow, that's something iconic because you don't think that such a famous like Domino Park that's right across the street would be involved in creating such an iconic spot for ice cream.
Yes.
In Little Havana, and I imagine this later has like an involvement for like creating the ice cream name Domino.
Yes, of course.
So, which flavor do you think best represents Cuba?
I would definitely say Abuela Maria. Abuela Maria are flavors that Cubans have always typically had. So Cubans normally like to take a Maria cracker, slice guava, slice cream cheese, and have that with the coffee. And so we decided we're just going to take that flavor profile and make it into an ice cream. And it has been, yeah, the most popular, beautiful ride, I guess. So
And the best, the best flavor you've invented. Really, I love it. I come here every time, and I have a hard time deciding between cookies and cream and Abuela Maria because they're both amazing.
people love the café con leche too.
Yes, you cannot miss that part. So what this has to be like a funny question because I imagine los Cubanos were a bit exaggerated on how we react to things, and especially for the first time. And so, what was the most surprising reaction que tú has visto de las personas que han probado el helado for the first time?
I have a story that yo estaba aquí y un señor estaba en este lado, anciano, y me dice, por favor, puedes venir para este lado. I was serving the ice cream and I'm like, oh. He took my hands and he started crying. Wow. And so he said that he could not believe that that mantecado, which is the one he had, actually took him back to Cuba for those seconds that it was in his mouth and how he grew up in Cuba and everything that his experiences in Cuba. And he said, I can't believe that you were able to put that in a flavor. And so at that point, you start realizing you're selling nostalgia.
Yep.
Because every time somebody has that, they think back of when they first had it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It is, and it's something that you've been able to do, and we congratulate you because really every time, even for us that we weren't born in Cuba, we didn't have the experience that maybe our parents did in Cuba. It's really amazing that little piece of Cuba came with us,
yes.
and in ice cream, and it's just amazing to think about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, every day I learned something here, but that was something that really touched me, and I felt that, it made me think differently about what I make. And we make everything by hand, and we put a lot of love in it, and that was an experience of it.
So growing up, what values or like traditions had the biggest impact in your life?
I feel that my parents worked a lot, so I got that early on. And so if you were going to do a good job, you were going to work. And just that rhythm of my dad would wake up at 5 a.m. and go to work and come back and do it again and do it again and do it again made our family realize that was what was important. So early on, we worked.
Yeah. And now that this question falls on very well, why do you think it is that even generations after, because there's first generation like us and we're first generation Americans, and then there's also second and third, and you see them, they're so very connected to their Cuban roots. Why do you think that goes along with them even generations after being here in the United States, and maybe they could have like detached from that Cuban generation, that Cuban culture, because we have so many things here in the United States. We have burgers, we have fries, we have fast food, but that tradition of sitting down, eating guayaba, comiendo con la familia, that tradition of listening to salsa en las fiestas, bailando, that type of stuff, why hasn't that disappeared? Why do you think that?
I think you have to figure out who you are. And that when you sit down and you figure out who you are and who's sitting on your back, my grandmother's still here in my head. My mother's on this side. They sacrificed so much to get us to the point that we're at. So we have a responsibility to keep that going. And I always feel that if I'm on a street and somebody goes, what are you? Like, where are you from? I always say I'm Cuban.
Yeah, me too.
I was born here, but I always say I'm Cuban first. I think that's something that your parents brought from Cuba with us. And we realize that, those sacrifices were not made in vain.
Yeah. I know people that I don't know if this happens to you yet too, but I know people, for example, that I know that are from other nationalities that are like kind of family for us. And I tell them, no, because us in Cuba, you're not from Cuba, you're not Cuban, right? Well, I am, because I was born here by something that that wasn't being able to be controlled by my parents because they weren't born at that time. It was the horrible dictatorship of Fidel Castro in 1959. But I'm Cuban because of my parents. Both of my parents are Cuban, so
Right.
I was born here by by a glory of God that we're here and we are able to live in freedom.
Yeah, I feel very Cuban all the time.
Yeah.
So we could say que tú eres una cubana orgullosa. Is there any specific moment that made you really proud to be Cuban?
I think opening this store made me very proud to be Cuban, and I made sure that I put the floors in that were replicas of Cuban tiles. The guayabera seating, that was for me. The actual plastic on it was for my grandmother. There was a phenomenon when my grandmother came to the United States that everybody loved putting plastic on the furniture. It's sort of gross because in Miami, if you sit on it, you're taking it with you.
Yeah.
So that part makes me laugh. But yeah, I feel Cuban all the time. So I don't, I feel more Cuban than anything else, I would think.
Yeah. How important do you think that food is when it comes to being part and being attached to art and culture? How important do you think that is? Because I know your part, a lot may not consider ice cream as food to say, but when you start to think about it, ice cream is something everyone enjoys, and that maybe it's something we eat later on in the day, or for example, like my mom, she likes to have 2 or 3 cups of ice cream throughout the day because she loves ice cream. So, how important do you think that food is when it comes to remembering your culture and where you come from?
So for me, it's about, I'm going to give you an example about mame ice cream. It's nothing I like. I'm not a mame fan, but I will tell you what I do. So I go to the Redlands and I pick this mame. And when we pick this mame, I bring it back and I have to wait till it's totally ripe. And how do I do that? By tasting it, by feeling it, so we wait till that last minute where it's ready to go bad, but I already know that it's perfect for ice cream. I open it up, I pulp it. I put it into the ice cream and I make that ice cream. Everything that took place from that farm to here is all of those things. And so it's been touched by the farmer, or let's say the soil, the farmer, the tree. I get it. I look at it. I then cut it. We pulp it. We put it into an ice cream. Look at how many processes happened before you even get to this part. So those processes is what makes this so special.
Yeah.
A lot of artists say that you shouldn't mix culture and politics, but you made an ice cream made Fidel Quémate en el infierno. Do you think that came from el dolor y la lucha del 11 de julio?
I just feel that being Cuban, I'm politic.
Of course.
Yeah.
So there is no Cuban in me that can't be political. I am the most political when it comes to Cuba. I don't know why. I take it personally and I have to talk about it. So when Fidel Castro died, I was thrilled to come out with Burn in Hell Fidel. And Burn in Hell Fidel is a chocolate ice cream that is so delicious that you take the chocolate ice cream, 10 seconds. It's literally 10 seconds. And then the cayenne pepper gets all over your neck. And once you feel that, you're like, but it's the kick in the throat I wanted to give Fidel.
Yeah.
And so that ice cream became very popular in Dallas. I had a store in Dallas, and I couldn't even keep it on the shelves.
Wow. And so now that we're talking about politics, I think that this comes up to point and correct in time, because we're seeing that right now more than ever we're closer to a free Cuba, and we're happy about that. I imagine that you being so connected to Cuba, so podemos decir orgullosa de ser cubana, ¿te interesaría? This is a question, not a statement. ¿Te interesaría abrir an ice cream shop of Azucar in Cuba, in a free Cuba?
What better thing for me to do than to go to Copelia, Fidel Castro's Copelia, and show him how to really make ice cream?
That sounds great.
It's my next move. Like, why wouldn't I do that? So a Cuban immigrant girl could come to to Cuba where they ruined our country, and I will make that the glory again. What other things do I have to do? That's the number one.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I imagine, because the thing is that, for example, all of us that have, or that were first generation Americans, and that we know that our parents have raised us. For example, my parents are self-employed. They do their own work. They have their own businesses. You know, you dream about just being able to, and mostly not just for us, but for them being able to go back to Cuba and see their land again, their homeland. My mom lives just dreaming about and in awe of her homeland of Cienfuegos, and my dad will come away. And so I just know that that's something that I wish, and that if it's up to me, I would do everything possible so that in their lifetime they can go back and de verdad puedan disfrutar de Cuba y de la Cuba donde ellos crecieron. Y no solamente la Cuba donde ellos crecieron, que ya estaba bastante mal, sino de la Cuba antes del 59. Y era todo lindo, era cultura, era valores, las personas, había respeto mutuo between people. So I think that is the most important thing that every first generation American coming from Cuban heritage wants to do. Make sure that Cuba is free as soon as possible, and that all of us can go back and celebrate. And hey, you know what? Maybe one day we'll do an episode of this in Cuba very soon, and we'll be eating azúcar. That would be great. So really, it's been an amazing time. Time has like flown by us. We've had so many questions, and there's now one last thing that me and Aaliyah want to ask you,
Of course.
it's like the most important part of coming here, and it's the fun part for us, and I know especially for my mom. We want the fun stuff, the ice cream.
Of course.
Let's go and answer that.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.